Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bald Progressive Show, Episode 1. Yeah, I decided to title the show what it is because, well, this is the new me. Me with a complete shaved head. But I might talk about dealing with balding a little later on in today's episode. But today, in the description box, if you're watching this today's episode, we're gonna, for the most part, we're gonna be covering affirmative action, I apologize for that door. Affirmative action. The election, Clinton versus Trump. And political correctness. I almost forgot what the other thing was that I was going to talk about. That's embarrassing. But so let's talk about the first topic at hand, affirmative action. Now, affirmative action today is not what affirmative action was originally intended to be. In the 1960s, after the Civil Rights Act was signed by Lyndon B. Johnson, a part of the Civil Rights Act was a policy called affirmative action. And affirmative action's original intention and original purpose was so that colleges and workplaces wouldn't deny an education, and even businesses at that. Well, yeah, businesses as well. Was that people could get jobs regardless of skin color or ethnicity. That people could eat where they wanted to or shop where they wanted to without being thrown out due to skin color or ethnicity, and that they could go to school without being thrown out due to their skin color or ethnicity. So you get the point that affirmative action's original intention was to help those who were discriminated against for the longest time. But we all know that now it got really out of control. And here's what I mean by affirmative action got really out of control, is that now affirmative action is used everywhere and at every time when it's not even necessary to use it. For example, you run for Congress. Let's just say you're a 23-year-old Hispanic male and you want to run for your local state's Congress, okay? You have every right to run for your local state Congress. However, though, instead of running based on your platform or your principles or the political ideology that you more fall in line with, instead of people looking at you for those reasons, they're looking at you because you're this young Hispanic male running for state senate. That's affirmative action in play right there. So people aren't voting for you based on your qualifications. People are voting for you based on the fact that you're Hispanic and they want to make their state legislative more diverse. That's affirmative action right there. Affirmative action is used when you're voting. Affirmative action is used during, even with, crap. And it was on tip of my tongue too. Even when it comes to groups of friends, making your groups of friends and all that, affirmative action is used there as well. You have people that want to have this diverse amount of friends. Great. That's my goal as well, to have friends who are of all different shapes, sizes, skin color, ethnicity, so on and so forth. And that's my goal too, to have a diverse friend circle. But how I approach my goal is different from how other people approach their goal. You have people who say, well, I have this X amount of white friends. Now I need to have this X amount number of black friends. I need to have this X amount number of Hispanic friends, and the list goes on. So affirmative action is also used in the sense of creating your circle group of friends. That's not how it's supposed to be used. So as you can see, affirmative action got out of control over the decades. Now it's to the point where, do we need affirmative action? We do. We do need it up to a certain point. If we're going to use affirmative action to make friends, to have an X amount number of employees at businesses or X amount number of students at college, we're not helping people. We are holding them back instead of actually helping them. Thomas Sowell, who's a world-renowned economics, and he's also a well-renowned Black conservative here in America, and for decades, since the 70s, has always talked against affirmative action for the sole reason, and he gave this example, and I'm quoting him. You have a white male and a black male, and they're both working fathers, and they both went to college with, and both have high degrees in their field. Now, instead of, looking at the black man's qualifications and looking at the white man's qualifications to see who's better suited for this company, they just automatically assume that they need to have a more diverse amount of coworkers, so they hire the black man and they completely look over the white man, even though he has the same qualifications as the black man. And that's the example he used. So, and it's an example that does make sense. It does make sense because, yes, there are employers that literally use affirmative action to hire a certain amount of employees because they need to fill a quota. Well, if someone is applying to your place for a job, okay? If someone's applying to your place for a job, they don't want to be hired based on their skin color or based on their ethnicity or based on their gender at that. They want to be hired based on their qualifications, their accomplishments, their prior employments to their other jobs and how well they done there. That's why people want to get hired. They don't want to be hired based on their race, gender, ethnicity. So in that case, it also is, affirmative action can also be very sexist. Besides being racist, it can be very sexist. And here's what I mean. You have Latino women, you have Black women, you have women in general, and affirmative action helps women in general. And you have women who apply to these jobs, these offices, who want to be hired the same way men do, based on their qualifications, based on their accomplishments, based on their successes in the past. But due to affirmative action, take Thomas Sowell's example of affirmative action at the workplace and take out the 2 men and apply it with 2 women. You have a Black woman and a Hispanic woman, both have the same degrees, both have the same GPA, and both are very successful at what they do. Now, this company looks at the Black woman, the Hispanic woman. They decide to go with the Hispanic woman because they need more Hispanic people to fill the quota, and completely overlook the Black woman, even though she has the same qualifications. So in that way, it's very sexist. Now, I'll repeat again. Do we need affirmative action? Yes, we do, but we shouldn't use it as extremely as we do. Look, let's use affirmative action for what it's intended for its use, to make sure that people, regardless of ethnicity or skin color, can get into colleges they want to, regardless of their skin color or ethnicity, so they could get into the job that they want. Or so we could basically have a diverse social life instead of having a segregated society. But that's the original intention for education, job, and society. But to use affirmative action to make friends and other shit like that, no, you're just being sexist and racist at that point. But like I said, even the intentions of education and job, it can also be very racist and sexist as well. But that's the original intention of affirmative action. Let's keep it at that. Let's not use it for reasons that we don't have to. Okay, I think I talked enough about affirmative action. Let's move on to political correctness. Now, political correctness, or PC, as I like to call it, as many people like to call it, is literally bad for society. Why is that? Well, yes, let's get it out of the way. Yes, it's true that there are universal, you don't say this and you don't joke about this around the world. Yes, it's true. We already have that. Some things are universally set that we don't find this funny and that we don't say shit like this. That's true. But for the most part here in America, political correctness has gone way fucking out of control. I mean, way out of control. Political correctness had its original intention, but just fucking blew out of proportion, like affirmative action. Now, political correctness. Colleges are too PC. Certain bars are too PC because you need to have a certain mentality to drink there. Certain groups are PC. They're on social media. At colleges, it's even really bad there. And I want to focus on more PC shit at colleges for the purpose of, you really can't expect colleges to well inform their students if you are telling them not to say this, not to say that, don't do this, don't do that. Like I said, yes, there are universals. You don't say this and you don't joke about this. Yes, universally, yes, there are some things that we already agree on. But there's other things where, like if a gay person says to another gay person, oh, stop being so faggy, or stop being queenie, and you tell a gay person who's telling that to other gay person that's offensive, they're gonna fucking laugh at you. I'm pansexual. I'm into men, women, transgender people, hermaphrodites, so on and so forth. And I see this shit all the time on Facebook and on Twitter and on YouTube at that. You have gay people insulting other gay people because in our circle, we understand where the humor's coming from. But when you see a homophobe say faggot, people get their panties in a bunch. Look, do I like the term faggot personally? No. Do I necessarily mind it when other gay people say to other gay people? Sometimes. Sometimes it irks me when people within the LGBT community use it with each other. Sometimes. But overall, in America, we have a thing called freedom of speech. Now, I think people who are fucking bigoted have every right to say what they want to, just as much as people like me who are not bigoted and not sexist have every right to say what we want to. That's how shit works in America. That's what freedom of speech is. Freedom of speech does not, it's not limited to certain groups of people. It's for all people to say what they want. Look, is bigotry in general frowned down upon? Yeah, it is. I look down upon bigotry just as much as everyone else does. However, though, bigots have every right to speak their mind, even though I don't agree with them whatsoever. They have every right to speak their mind as much as I have the right to call them a fucking asshole. And same thing with homophobes. They have every fucking right to speak their mind just as much as I have a right to call them a fucking asshole. You get my point? So when I see people saying, oh, this person shouldn't have the right to speak, let's block them, let's block them. Look, you can only do blocking on a certain standpoint. Look, can you block people if they say something offensive and you don't like it and you don't like to hear that rhetoric? Yes, blocking is okay if you know when to block at a certain point. But if you're just blocking random fucking people because they disagree with you, it's ridiculous. It's really fucking ridiculous. Then it's to the point where you don't want to hear any other opinion but your own. Look, I'm open-minded to opinions. I'm not closed-minded to opinions. I don't specifically pick and choose which opinions I like. No, I'm open to all opinions. But I have opinions based on those opinions as well. And that's okay because everyone else does as well. Yeah, political correctness has just gotten out of control. Good concept, but blown out of proportion. If you want to see the craziness of political correctness, check out YouTube channels like Steve Shives and check out YouTube channels like BuzzFeed Yellow, BuzzFeed Violent, BuzzFeed in general. Yeah. You'll see the insanity of political correctness. But if you want to check out a funny video, go to College Humor, and they make fun of all these fucking people that go complete fucking PC. And before we move on to the election, which is going to be a little bit of a lengthy topic, let's talk about going bald and embracing it. Now, the reason why I have my head shaved is because, well, I'm losing my hair just like every other guy loses his hair. And does it bother me in particular? No, not really. It doesn't bother me that my hair is escaping my head. It won't bother me. Why won't it bother me? It won't bother me, and it doesn't bother me because there's male pattern baldness on my side of the family. Anyway, it's hereditary on my side. So I'm not a bit surprised that I'm losing my hair. Do I wish I would lose my hair later on in life? Yeah, but guess what? Mother Nature didn't bless me with locks of hair with great genetic. Look, I don't have hair like Fabio or Mario Lopez. I wish I did, but I don't. This is why I keep my head shaved, because I'm losing my hair anyway. It's escaping my head, and this is how I'm dealing with it. I forego the whole thing, and I'm just embracing the fact that being bald is my fate. And for any guys out there that are concerned about losing your hair, if you're a hair model, or like if you're a guy like me who's just losing his hair through male pattern baldness, look, here's a simple fact. Get over it. You're losing your hair anyway. And if you're a hair model, try Propecia, do Rogaine, whatever you have to do. But there's side effects to Propecia and Rogaine. The side effects is it could cause erectile dysfunction, it could cause heart disease, it could cause cancer. These are just some of the side effects of Propecia and Rogaine. And I don't want to take those risks, even though cancer, everyone's at a risk of that. No one's exclusive or immune to that risk. But if you have cancer and you lost your hair through chemotherapy, look, keep fighting. Keep fighting whatever type of cancer you have. Keep fighting it, because life is well worth living and well worth fighting to stay alive. And those who are fighting and who are fighting tirelessly, way to go. But those of who've been diagnosed and are depressed about it, that's normal. That's normal to be upset that you have cancer. That's normal to be upset. But don't give up on the fight. Don't give up on it. Keep fighting it. Keep fighting it. Don't give up on life because of a cancer diagnosis. Keep fighting it. And if you need inspiration, look at so many cancer survivor stories. Chances are, if you feel like you don't want to fight it and you just want it to take you, there are cancer survivors who felt the same thing, but then they fought it, and they honestly regret having those thoughts originally. But yeah, keep fighting it, and don't be afraid to fight it, because this is a battle that's worth fighting. But yeah, while we're on the topic of cancer, Jesus, I mean, it is a devastating diagnosis for those who are told that they have it. I mean, me personally, I wouldn't be able to take the diagnosis initially at first. No one is. But some people aren't surprised and they fight it, like I said. But a lot of people are shocked because it's not even on their family, on the side of their family. And I personally would take it really hard if I was diagnosed with cancer. Because just the fact that it could kill you in a matter of months and is really heart-wrenching to anyone of any age. And chemotherapy must be brutal for those who are going through cancer treatments currently. I mean, to inject poison into your system to fight against these cancerous cells and all that. I mean, it must be agony what cancer patients go through that go through chemotherapy. It must be agony. And I'm an empathetic person, and when I place myself in the position of a cancer survivor, whenever I read those stories, it's emotional. It really is. And for those who are saying, imagine what it's like to have cancer, look, you can be sympathetic, but if you lack empathy, you lack any sense of humanity. You need to have some sense of empathy along with sympathy in order to have some sense of humanity. If you only have sympathy and have no empathy, you lack some sense of humanity. And whenever I read stories of people who've gone through cancer treatments or gone through hell like that, it's emotional. I get a little emotional when I read those stories because they're so hard to even read. Because you just when you place yourself in their position, you share the same thoughts they had. How is this going to affect my family if I die? How is this going to affect my children? How's this going to affect my friends? And it's very emotional when you place yourself in their position when you read their stories. It's very emotional. Anyway, let's move on to the final topic, which is the election, Clinton versus Trump. Don't worry, in the next episode, I'll do Jill Stein versus Gary Johnson. So let's go to their pages. Let's go to Hillary's. Let's see. What's her platform? Let's go to, let's just say national security. Let's go to veterans and the armed forces. Hillary Clinton's father, Hugh Rodham, was a chief petty officer at Naval Station Great Lakes during World War II. He instilled in Hillary at an early age the importance of supporting our men and women in uniform, as well as military families and veterans, and an empathy for challenges that many servicemen and veterans face. Hillary believes that by supporting our veterans, we strengthen our military, our economy, and our country. She knows that we cannot separate supporting our veterans from our border commitment to take care of our troops. Soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guard men, and their families. Okay. Let's see what her positions are on supporting the veterans. Fundamentally reform veterans' health care to ensure access to timely and high quality care, and block efforts to privatize the VA, including improving health care for women at the VHA, ending the veteran suicide epidemic, and continuing efforts to identify and treat invisible, latent, and toxic wounds of war that affect veterans, family members, and caregivers after their service. Well, I like this, and I'll tell you why. The VA is absolute shit. Her and Trump both agree on that. The VA is absolute shit. The VA treats veterans so fucking badly. Jon Stewart talked about it. Fox talked about it, and several news media and sources talked about it. The VA absolutely treats veterans like shit. The reason why is because the VA puts literally veterans on fucking waiting lists. So, like, if you're a veteran and you're experiencing symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder from, let's just say, the Afghanistan war, and it's really not only affecting you mentally, but starting to affect you physically, and you want to go to a VA hospital and not a regular hospital. So instead of being taken to the VA hospital like you would normally a regular hospital, they put you on a fucking waiting list. Yeah, and you have to wait a long ass time before you're even in a VA hospital. And even when you're there, they treat veterans like shit. So I could agree with her on this. Now let's see where Trump has on the VA. Here's the problem. Hillary and Trump both agree that the VA is a problem. However, though, the Trump plan gives veterans the freedom to choose and forces the VA to compete for their dollars. No. We need to reform the VA. Both of them are saying that, and we do. However, though, we can't privatize the VA. That's the problem. People want to privatize it. No, we can't. We have veterans in this country who are homeless, who can't afford hospital bills. So the VA is virtually free for them, but they're on a waiting list. Go figure. Look, Trump says shit that sounds good, but then doesn't actually do good. Same thing with Hillary. Sometimes she says shit that sounds good, but doesn't do good. But Hillary has done some things better than Donald Trump has, and that's just a general fact. But both of them, I get bad vibes from on a lot of things, but especially when it comes to the veterans, Hillary's much better on the veterans than Trump is. But yeah. So you get my point. The election's crazy. Both sides pretty much say the same thing, but different results. And Trump's plan for the VA is fucking nuts. But Trump and Hillary are both saying the same thing. We need to reform the VA, but they have completely different ways of doing it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Tune in next week for episode 2 of the Bald Progressive Show.